Rogue Record.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to Hustle Makes It Happen, a podcast about the grit, determination, and the mindset it takes to become a winner. Success is not an accident. It lives outside your comfort zone, in the trenches where excuses are met by brick walls. So strap in, tighten up, and let's get ready to hustle. What's up, hustlers? Welcome to another episode of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast. Before we break off into our guest today, we're going to go over the boring shit that we talk about every time in the beginning of this podcast. Please subscribe to our channel, hit like, share, get this content out in the world. We love you guys. We feel blessed to be in this position. We are blessed that you love the content we're putting out and the guests that we have on here. We're growing. We hope you're growing. Go to our website, buy some crap. We love y'all, and we're going to break off.
Yeah, and continue to send us hustlers because we got another referral in here. And this is the, second or third hustler referral that we've done?
Yeah, I want to say there's two or three. I'd have to go back because I went through them the other night. But breaking off today, we have Miss Brandi Victoria, who is the owner of Espresso Geaux that is in our local area and is killing the coffee game out here. So that's who we have today. Welcome.
Thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No, definitely appreciate you coming on. So why don't we'll kick this thing off with you. I mean, tell us about you, tell us about your story, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we want to really drill into the mindset that has allowed you to take, what started as an idea and turn it into this little mini coffee empire you got going on.
Yeah, so Brandi Victoria, thank y'all again so much for having me on. It's such a blessing. I started 2019 with just a truck, coffee truck, and kind of took a different aspect of it. I didn't really see that in, this area. And I moved back from Lafayette. I was actually living over there and I moved back here and I was just like, what can I do that's different? I have an offshore background. I have a paramedic background, and I'll blow your mind and tell you that I actually didn't drink coffee when I started.
Yeah. Especially working in those fields.
Surprise. And I just fell in love with the actual process of making the coffee instead of just drinking the coffee. There's so much that goes behind it that most people they have no idea about. And then from that, we've expanded one location every year. And then just this year, actually, we started roasting our own beans. So I started a new company, Geaux Roasters, and we don't really put the name of it out there just because we only roast for us right now. And so we started that, and it's just really about adapting and overcoming. We talked about that earlier. You just have to have the mindset, you have to change the way you think about things to be able to hustle in this game. It's different. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I have a 7-month-old. That's our first baby girl, Emma Grace Victoria. And she's made the difference. She's my why now. I want to be successful to, have her brought up in a world that she knows that she can do anything she wants to. And that's where it starts.
I love it. It's such a common occurrence and thread for most of the parents that we get to sit on that side, man, and us being parents. Gare Bear's going to get there soon.
Yeah, not there yet.
But
yeah, he's still practicing.
It's people can say it's like cliche or it's just like, oh yeah, we always hear that. But it's so true to know you see like that business owner that's hustling and then they have that kid and they're like, that's my why. This is why I keep digging every day. Those long days, those long nights when you see them. And like Megan, it's funny because that's one of the people that, gave us your name.
I love her.
She was talking about she wants her kids to grow up and just be proud of who she is. And it's such I love it because I feel that internally as well.
Yeah, I definitely do too. I want to talk a little bit more about your background before the coffee business because I just have a feeling it's going to play a large role in how you got to where you are now. So what did you do? What was you say you had a paramedic background and an oil field background? Were you like you worked offshore as a medic?
Yes, I did. I started as a a regular medic offshore. And then I decided, well, I'm going to put myself back through school. I was making great out there, no kids, no family. And so I went to college and I got a safety degree. And I'm like, well, what could I do with this? And so I paid off all of my student loans while doing that. I went on to get my ASP and then my CSP, which is one of the highest safety certifications that you can get. And the company that I was contracted to, they decided to offer a dual role. And so then I took on that safety paramedic role into that. And I just kept going and going and going.
You talked about not being on the path to be a business owner, really ever. That was never really part of your plan. And then you also mentioned in your intro that you didn't drink coffee. So it wasn't like you had a passion for coffee. So what I'm trying to pull out is I think there's something in your personality that I want to explore that encouraged you to like make a shift into something totally unknown, totally foreign to you, and be able to take that to a what seems like a pretty good level of success. So have you always been like a risk taker or an adrenaline driven person or maybe even impulsive? And the reason I'm asking this is because there's a lot of people that are afraid to take leaps into things that they don't know anything about, and they automatically assume they're going to fail because they don't have any experience in it. So
that's really good.
Have you ever, or like, do you consider yourself to be a risk taker?
Yes, very much so. I am a very impulsive person, like you just mentioned, which usually some people think that is a bad thing.
Dude, it's not though.
It's really not, because as long as you have that mindset that, okay, yes, I may fail, but what if I don't? What if I don't? But hey, even if I do, what are you going to do with it? It's about what you do with what happens. And I think that's so huge. And I think that's what really sets us apart from other people. Whether you make it or you don't, it's what you do with it. How can you overcome that step? And I didn't drink coffee. I did fall in love with the process of how it works. And I was actually volunteering at church in the cafe when I was in Lafayette. And that's when I fell in love with that process, of actually making the coffee. And I kind of dug into it and explored that. But when I was offshore, you make great offshore, really, really good. And so I was thinking, what could I do? I never wanted to be a business owner, but I always knew that I wanted something more. And I am not a journey kind of gal. Like some people is like, hey, embrace the journey. It's so beautiful. And you should. You really should. But I am that girl that's like, what do I need to do to get to the finished product? And then whenever I get there, I'm like, okay, what can I do to make it better? Let's go on that road. And I'm not saying that you don't enjoy getting there, because you should. If you're always thinking about, what you can do next, you're never going to appreciate what you've already done. So it's not to say that, but it's more of you always need to keep that creative mindset of what can I do to be better? What can I do to make it better? And what can I do next? And then that is what sets you apart from other people.
That's why I love this room, man.
I know.
It's such a flip of a coin on some of the past people that we've had sit in that chair. And it's awesome to see the different perspective and mindset from person to person. I love hearing that, because
I'm relieved about it, because I think like you think.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people, not all, but a lot of the people that we've had in here are very like enjoy the journey mindset. I think very much like you do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the outcomes.
That's right.
I understand that there's a process to get to the outcomes, and that's really overall what makes things fun in retrospect. But I love like setting goals and hitting them.
Right.
Like that's where my fulfillment comes from.
Yep.
I love sitting in here and listening to the difference.
Dude, me too.
The variety, and that's what's awesome. I love, like, even though my mindset isn't particular on the same as hers about. I think before it was, but I've actually grown without even the show. That I've actually grown more into encompassing like learning the little wins and experiencing that. Still goal oriented though, but still really enjoying the middle. But I love hearing like she's like, man, hammer down, like got it, improve it, make it better, figure out what's the next. Like I like that too though. Like I like hearing that.
Yeah, I like the fact that I want to go back to that risk taker mentality thing. Like you didn't have a passion for coffee. And I think this happens to a lot of people, because I know it happened to me. whenever we started our land development business, look, let me back up even further than that. I built my house in 2018. Like I self-contracted my house in 2018. I had no idea how to build a house. And I had a lot of people in my life that were, important to me that told me, you can't build a house. You don't know anything about building a house.
Yeah.
And that, I was very close. I had quotes from like 3 or 4 contractors to build it for me. And I just couldn't afford it. So I was I didn't have an opportunity. I didn't have an option. I had to go do it myself. But a lot of people and I mean a lot, almost everybody that I talk, probably 90% of the people that I talk to, they want to do something, but like, well, I don't want to get started because I don't know anything about it. And they're scared to take that step because they don't know what they're getting into, and they're afraid to take the risk. You know what I mean? I think, yes, that cliche, you got to risk it for the biscuit mentality or whatever. It's so true though. Like whenever we started our land development business, I didn't know nothing about land. I didn't know anything about the codes. I didn't know anything about whatever, but I had Chase, who had a little bit of experience in it. And we learn something every project. We're fighting stuff right now. Learning in business is a painful process. But I didn't know anything about it. But I was willing to take the risk and be vulnerable and find people that I could count on as mentors to teach me that, what I needed to know. And here we are, working on 3 years later, and things are just running, rocking, and rolling. The same thing that happened for you.
Yeah. And I think that's where, for people like you and I think that's where our growth comes from. So many people grow along the journey with the little obstacles that come up because they're coming. I mean, everyone knows that. Anytime you take any risk, they're coming. But for people like us, we get that initial growth when we take that leap of faith. When we're like, hey, we're doing this. But then our journey is teaching ourselves, hey, we need to figure out this. We need to figure out this. And we hustle, we make it happen, But then once we get to that destination that we were trying to get to, our second growth process comes from, okay, what's next? How do we make it better? How do we do this and do this? And that's how I am too. It's always that risk. You just got to jump in and do it.
Y'all sound so much alike.
Yeah, I know. That's what, I was so refreshed right now.
Yeah.
Justin is going to leave here going,
that was the best interview we've ever done.
He's going to say, I'm going to Espresso Geaux right now.
That's right. Yeah. I do. I always thought about being, that woman that's like, yes, just embrace the journey, and you have to, your mindset. I'm actually reading a book right now, The Gap and the Gain, and that's what it's about. It's about having that mindset of appreciating where you are. And I do very much appreciate where I am. But I always have my mind set on what's next, and I think that's kind of what separates our personality from others, is because we don't stop. We know that once we get there, there's no end game. We keep going no matter what. And that's how we thrive,
I think I'm a hybrid of all of that.
Yeah.
I think I'm a hybrid. I'm only worried about the middle, or I'm so focused on the end. I think I'm a hybrid of all of it. I feel like I'm 100%. A mesh between, because my brain never stops.
Right.
Even when I'm like satisfied in the middle, like my brain's constantly moving.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And it's not moving because of what's happening. It's like I'm thinking about all the little fingers and the avenues ahead. Like,
right.
I'm thinking about all that all the time.
Let me tell you why I think your mentality, and a lot of the people that have sat over there, their mentality is very similar to yours, I think. And I noticed this just in like our personal relationship and in our business. People like you are much more even keeled, and I want to get your input on this, because I go through like extreme highs and extreme lows, and extreme highs and extreme lows, and it's a cycle over and over. Yep. But it always seems like it's it's an upward momentum on the, like if you were drawing on a graph or whatever, it's an upward momentum, and that's what I'm addicted to. Is I'm addicted to, I feel like I'm addicted to the swings. You know what I mean? But I want to back on the risk thing. I think if you're willing to take risk like you are and like I am, that's where opportunities come from. They come from every one of those risks. And this is very similar to whenever I left my job. I don't want to say the company, but when I left the job that I was working before the one I have now, that was a huge risk. But it seems like over the last 10 years, I've gotten comfortable taking risks because I've built enough self-confidence in myself to take them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the game changer for us, for people like you and me, the game changer for us is failure is not an option. And so if you are one of those people like you, there's nothing wrong with that. You enjoy the journey. You're always thinking, and that doesn't mean that you're not thinking about the future. That just means that you are willing to take the time to kind of get there and do what you need to do to make it happen. And that's great. But for us, failure is not an option. So when we make that decision, we're like, we will do whatever it takes to make it happen. Yes, we're going to have highs and we're going to have lows. But when we're on those highs, that's when like our creative wheels are spinning and we're like, okay, we're going to do this. We have no other option. We took that leap. We gave up everything to do this. And so there's no other option. So we make it happen. And that's where that grit and that grind comes through for people like us, because we have our eyes set on that destination. And no matter what happens through here, we're going to get that end result. And so I think that's kind of what, differentiates us from that normal aspect of, hey, we'll just take it as it comes. We're like, hey, it's coming and we will get over it. We will overcome it and we will get to where our eyes are set and it's going to be that destination. And then when we get there, it's great. But then it's like, all right, what's next? Like, let's go, let's keep going.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm more like Chase, right? Yeah. So I'm goal oriented, but when I reach that goal, I revel in it for a little bit of time. I really enjoy it. I feel like in the last 10 years of my life, I've met some serious goals, and it's like in 2-year increments. But then I enjoy it for a couple of years, and I'm like, okay, it's time to move. I gotta, And I feel like y'all are like, okay, what's next? Immediately, as soon as you get there, you're excited. But it's like, all right, time to move.
Yeah. Time to move on. And what it is look, it's like two different, and this is so interesting. It's such an interesting conversation. It's like two different mindsets that make people successful. And I'll compare it to the Olympics, right? Like both are, you have marathon runners and you have sprinters, and both are like elite level athletes and they perform at a top level.
That's good.
But some of them, their game is just steady. And I think that's you two. And we're both sprinters. Like we're going to give everything we got for 400 meters. And I'm not afraid to admit, I'll work my tail off for a week or two at a time.
Yes.
And then I'll just get in this mental funk and get in this rut. And like I had to back out and take a knee and drink some water and then get back on the field and start running again. You know what I mean?
I got my Camelback on and I'm just like,
and my boy's just trucking along.
That's
just
it.
Cruising.
That's such an interesting concept.
That's a really good analogy to talk about it in that way, because both really successful in their approaches to their game, but very different.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you obviously, I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say you had some naysayers when you said I'm gonna go out and tackle the coffee truck industry.
Yeah, very much.
Obviously,
so.
that we're not sitting here because you did that on accident. So what was that? Did it play any psyche? I know that you're like a hard charger. Did it play into the mindset any, or you were just like, nope, it's what I'm doing? Obviously, you started doing some homework and looking at where the gaps were in the industry, which I think's very smart, because you started to take an educational approach to the industry, figuring out where the gaps are. And that's something that I think we all agree on. That's where you find a niche in your own lane of what you want to do. So you did that, but was any of the naysayers, which I imagine is probably by the hundreds, they're probably in your fan club now in the background.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, that's usually the case.
So did it play any in the psyche, in the conception and thought process of this?
It did, but only during those times where, like you just stated, where you have that drawback to where you have to take a knee. That's the downside of the personality that we have, is when we're in that drawback, we're like, okay, our mind's like, man, that's when we have to overcome ourselves, the mentality of it, because we beat ourselves up and we're like, man, when did we really need to do this, or did we make a mistake, and all that stuff. And it doesn't last long. I will say it doesn't last long, but it does happen.
It's like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. And then it's
sell
like,
my house.
yes.
I feed my family.
Yes. And then we're back to it, But whenever I first started, I remember when I was in college, my mom, I love her more than anything. She helps me so much. But I remember she just looked at me and she said, you have to decide, like, what you're going to do, because I would do this or I would do that. I had my hands in everything, and she was just like, well, what are you going to do? And I was in school for criminal justice. And then, I wanted to go to law school and then a paramedic. And I remember, when I decided to go through with being a paramedic, my mom's like, okay, maybe that's it. And then I told her, like, I'm going to school for safety. And she's like, okay. And then I said, I'm opening up a coffee company. And she's like, okay, this is my daughter. Embrace it. Yeah. But at the beginning, I kind of didn't really tell anyone that I was, transitioning into offshore to coffee here. And I just moved back in 2018. And that's when I kind of got that shift of like, what can I do different? What can I do different? And I remember when I was offshore, everyone would complain, it's tough, especially with you guys in the oil and gas industry. You're leaving, you're going away from your family. And I remember everyone would come, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And that's what I wanted different. I wanted something to where I didn't have to go to work every day and say, oh, I don't want to be here. And that's kind of where it sparked my interest to do something different. And so I didn't really tell anybody locally that I was going to do it. I kind of just was like, bam, I'm here, and I did my research and created this custom truck. It's actually custom built, cost more than my first house. And so it was a setback. I was thinking, did I make a mistake, but then I got out there and took that risk, and the mindset was, what do people need? Well, it was me, and I don't say that in like a crazy way. It's a personality thing. That's the difference. Yes, CC's is local and Starbucks is huge everywhere, but I'm like, what do people need? What do people love about my brand? It's me. And I just came full force with, hey, this is who I am. This is who I believe in. This is the experience that you're going to get from me. And people loved it. And then COVID hit, and my business analogy or my business structure was to go into schools and businesses. Starbucks can't do that. You have to go through a drive-through or wait in line. But I'm like, how can I bring myself to people? And I contacted schools in Ascension Parish. It flew off the chart when they found out about us because CC's used to have a truck and then they stopped. And so I had like 7 or 8 schools reach out, and then they just passed along the information. And then we were going into schools, into businesses in the early mornings. Well, when COVID hit, they took that away. Everything was closed. So I had to pivot, and you always have to have that pivotal moment in your business, and that's what makes you successful. And so I decided, how can I go to the people? Where are they at? Well, COVID, they were at home. And so that's what I did, y'all. I put on our Facebook page, I'm like, hey, we're coming into subdivisions. You tell me where you are and we're coming. And we did. And I was by myself when it first started. And y'all, I had lines for like 4 hours. And they were just, where are they going to go? Back home? That was the only option they had. I was in their subdivision, and they waited for hours. And finally, I had to get help, and so I got somebody else. And then the news reached out, and other locals, and they really got our name out. We went from, in the middle of COVID, we went from 2,000 followers to over 10,000, and it just exploded. But I knew that I had to be the face of my company. That was the difference. Me, instead of just another employee's at another coffee location that's not mine, and that was the difference.
Hey, y'all, if you're in the market for a real estate attorney that can handle all your title work needs, all your closing needs, all your succession needs, whatever your needs are in the real estate industry, look no further than our friends Shay Landry and the group at Milestone Title. Y'all, we use these guys for our personal business, and they have never let us down. They've been on top of the game every time we've used them. So whatever it is that you're looking for in the real estate industry, as far as a closing attorney or title work is concerned, check out our friends over at Milestone Title. Milestone Title, a proud sponsor of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast.
Nick Torito at Area Home Lending, Louisiana's top choice for mortgages. If you're looking to buy, build, or refinance, they have you covered. Don't get fooled by one of those online or out-of-state banks. Nick and Area Home Lending are Louisiana-based and lend in all of Louisiana. From Lake Charles to Lafayette or all of Baton Rouge to New Orleans. If it's in this state, Nick and his team are local experts and ready to help. Your home is one of the biggest decisions and investments you will make in your life. With trust, commitment, and care, Nick will walk you through the process, step by step, making the hardest decision easy and ensuring the process is as simple and painless as possible. And with Nick, you'll find out that you're not only just another transaction or number on the list. He's invested in you and you become family with his goal to create a relationship that will always be there. Area Home Lending has access to the best loan programs too, and with the lowest rate and fees, all while delivering exceptional customer service. Please give him a call today at 225-663-2500 or visit him on the web at www.areahomelending.com. I guarantee you, he will take great care of you. Nick Torito and Area Home Lending, a proud sponsor of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast. I love those moments. A 500% increase over a decision, a thought process, a pivot, a brainstorm.
Do you feel like you work better in chaos or in a steady environment? Do you think better and make better decisions? I
feel like I thrive in chaos, but I'm a very planning person. Like if you tell, I can tell you like, okay, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. But I can adapt very, very well, and so I feel like I thrive in business chaos, unfortunately, because that's a rare breed. But I just feel like when I know that I have to make a decision for something to be successful, I can do it right then. And that's the biggest thing about adapting and overcoming. You have to be able to do that.
It's something that I had a conversation recently, and it's another podcaster that I've been talking to recently. His name's Omar, and he has a show called What If It Did Work? And
That's good.
Yeah, and so we've been speaking recently, and we're going to do some switching. We're going to go be on his, and he's going to be on ours.
That's awesome.
But I was speaking to him. He has a very successful podcast, and he gave kudos to our show, and he said, and it's something I want to start asking, especially Louisiana business owners and people in this mindset, because we have a certain mindset. I think people sitting in this room have a certain type. And he said, kudos to you guys for tackling such a not very prominent subject in Louisiana. And he said mindset and business talk and growth talk, he said, is not something Louisianians dive in and talk a lot about. And I said, and it like kind of struck and rang a bell to me. And he said, he graduated from LSU, and he said his podcast is very successful for where he's at in his small growth. And he said, how many people watch my show from Louisiana? And I asked him, and he said 0.5%.
Wow.
0.5 of 1% watch his show. And he is a graduate from LSU and has many, many connections. He said people would rather listen to a podcast about LSU football than about personal development and growth. He says, so kudos for you guys tackling that.
Yeah.
Do you sit in a room with people that create that stir in your brain? Do you have those conversations? I mean, it could be just with your husband or it could be with other individuals. Because I want to challenge people and ask them, like, do you sit in those rooms where you're intellectually talking about growth and life and business and how do you get better? Do you have those conversations a lot?
Yeah, and that's so good. I have a business manager, Bridget. She's phenomenal. She actually basically runs Louisiana operations. And on the way over here, actually, sitting in the Denham Springs traffic off the interstate was terrible. And so I had plenty of time, as you know. And so we were just talking about that, how we're going to grow and what we're going to do next and what we're going to overcome. And then my husband, he is the biggest supporter in the world. I actually started another business adventure in Texas, and he's like, okay, we're doing this. All right.
What did your mom say?
Well, she actually, when I got here yesterday, she was like, oh, you started that. That's good. What about the coffee? That's all. And I'm like, no, it's still good. Like everything is good. But you do have to have those conversations. And I think for entrepreneurs and people that they get in the grit and the grind, they have to have those wheels spinning. You know, if you don't use something, you lose it. And I think that's, as a business owner, that's our creativity. You know, we have to bounce things off of each other. And it's a lot easier if you have a circle, no matter how small it may be. Sometimes it's better to keep it super small because then you don't have all the naysayers coming in. But it's super important that you keep those wheels spinning and you thrive off of each other. You know, you have to have that team that you can do that. And you can be successful on your own. But it's hard, you know, because you have that doubt that comes in. You have to have somebody to pull you up and get through that.
I was just thinking about, like, can you imagine if you sat in a room and you talked about how you had this idea and you wanted to do something, if you had 60 people sitting in a room and they said, you can do it. Like, how would that give you affirmation of, like, yeah, I can do this. And and maybe they say, look, man, you need accounting. Like, I can help you with that. Or,
how can I help?
How can I help you do
here's
that?
some
Instead
advice.
of like, you sure you want to do that?
Yeah,
Right.
that's all you get.
You don't know shit about coffee beans. Like, instead of hearing that, you hear like, Justin, you can do it.
So I'm really glad you mentioned keeping your circles small. I think it's, you know, a lot of people talk about hustling in silence, and I'm not fully bought into that. I don't think you can. I don't think you can hustle in silence. You have to, at least people like us, we have to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, like you're talking about. But what I've learned over the last 2 years probably is you need to be very selective with who you share information with. And it's not because you need to worry about them going out and stealing your ideas, because they're not going to. They're not built like that, and they're just not going to do it. What you got to worry about is giving somebody or trying to bounce an idea off somebody that just immediately returns you with negativity. That is what you got to be super careful about. Yeah. So now, I used to be of the mindset that, like, because I was excited about it. I wanted to tell everybody about everything I don't do that anymore. Yeah. I tell a very select group of people what's going on in my life, and everybody else can they'll catch it on Facebook when it comes out.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
A lot of people offer advice that they haven't experienced.
Right.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that having rental properties is a terrible idea if you've never owned one.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that's the biggest one I've ever gotten.
But
ever.
they had a buddy that's done it before.
Oh yeah,
or
everybody's had a friend that had a bad experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I get sick of hearing that. That's not advice. You're not giving me advice.
Well,
Well, look, beyond getting sick of hearing of it, like, that has a negative toll on your, like, that over time takes a negative toll on your psyche. And there are a lot of people that, like, never learn this lesson and never grow at all. And I'm not, look, I don't want to be one of those people that say, like, if you're not growing, you're dead. Like, you know, whatever. If you're content with your life and you're happy and you're fulfilled in your life, then just keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
But if you're like everybody in this room and a lot of the people that listen to the show, if you've got, like, just a little more aspiration, or you want to do a little bit more, a little bit of something different, like, you cannot surround yourself with people that their first instinct is to tell you everything that's wrong with your plan, because you know that what you're doing is risky, right? You know there's trouble. You know that we know. I mean, we own property, we buy property. We know that the market can crash tomorrow, right? We know that.
And I know that I can get in my car and die today. So,
Right.
I mean, you know.
Let's take that chance.
Yeah, but the world these days, they think that everyone, yes, you're entitled to your own opinion, but keep it to yourself. Everybody, you know, feels that they have to tell everyone what they think. You don't. Like, you don't. Just keep quiet. If you don't agree with something, that's fine. We're a different breed. We're a different species. Everyone was made different. Well, stay in your lane, you know, because you have the people like us that we thrive, and this is what we want to do. And if the way that I do things as an entrepreneur and, you know, as a business owner, if you don't like that, that's fine. You don't have to, but I don't like the way you live either. I don't like going home to the same exact thing every single day saying, okay, I love my job and this is it. I do love my job, but this is not it. I am going to grow, and I am going to,
10 years.
Yeah, you know, and so it's just different. But people always think that they have to comment on everything, and you don't. We're different, and that is totally okay. But embrace who you are and stay true to who you are. But let me be who I am, and let me hustle. And if I come home and I'm having one of those off days for 2 or 3 days that we talked about, and I'm crying and I think that I failed, that's fine. But in, you know, 2 and 3 days when I'm over it and I excel and create another business and this, that's what I thrive on. So we all have bad days, but it's how we experience it that makes us different, you know? And when we're in the middle of our slump and we're like, okay, now we got to get back up because we don't have that camel on our back that we're just packing. We're steady, you know, and then when we hit that slump, we're like, all right, now I'm ready. Game on, baby. What's next? And then we just go and then we thrive. But everybody's different, and that's totally okay. How you approach things, that's fine. But, you know, you have to do what makes you successful. And that's what you just have to stick to.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yep.
His mind's like, all right, here we go.
I know.
Go back to the drawing board.
No, I can't, like, everything that you're saying is just hitting on, and this is, I don't think you're the first one that's thought like this, but I think you're the most outspoken that has been as mentally similar to me. So it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. It's refreshing. But it's so true. Like I get, you know, a lot of people talk about hustling in silence. That's why I brought it up a while ago. A lot of people talk about hustling in silence. I can't do that.
No.
Like I have to have somebody to, because I do, and it's people that I really trust too. So, you know, Chase or Garrison, I got a couple of like 2 or 3 other little friends that if I have an idea, I'll bounce it off them. If they're like, dude, that's a terrible idea. It just hits different than whenever you tell somebody that has no, like, kind of no skin in the game, and they're like, well, that's a terrible idea. And then I kind of get offended, but I'm like, it's a fucking thing. Like, you don't know. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where
I'm really bad about asking for advice and not taking it too.
Yeah.
And some people get offended by that. You know what I mean? Like if you ask for advice and then you do the opposite of whatever they told you to do, like they'll bring it up. Well, like, why did you even ask if you weren't going to take my advice? So it's like, because I wasn't asking you what to do. I was asking you what you thought about what I was.
Husband. Bless his soul. That's what we do all the time. And I'm like, he says, well, you know, I thought you wanted to know. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I just wanted to tell you. And then you say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, or that's not a good idea. And then from that, I'm like, all right, now I know. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. But it does. When it's your inner circle, it kind of hits different. And I do get, offended with things like that. But I think that's our pivotal moment. You know, it's like, all right, well, if he doesn't think I can, well, and not my husband. My husband supports me. But if someone close to us, you know, if they think that that's a dumb idea, that's when our personalities, those A-type personalities, we're like, all right, game on, baby.
Well, it makes you think. If they say, if you tell somebody you're going to do something, they're like, well, I wouldn't do that. Well, why not? And then they like expose you to some risk that you might not have thought of. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Like they're not willing to accept that risk, but we've already identified that we're willing to accept some degree of risk, but we're strategic and we plan. So we'll identify that risk. We'll make sure that our plan covers that risk, and then we'll execute the plan.
That's right.
Right? But the people that aren't willing to take or accept risk just see that as reckless or as impulsive or as careless. You know, but it's not. It's very well thought out, and it's like reckless. I asked you told me some things that were risks. Yeah. I've either accepted or taken steps to mitigate that risk, and we're moving forward with the plan. Right.
I love talking about this because it's about to lead into exactly what I've been thinking about. We're talking about plans and all those things and executing, and then the thing that it comes. Talk about a moment of failure.
There have been so many.
So that's good. So pick, I mean, it doesn't have to be one, or maybe it's a culmination, because we can all talk about it, because, you know, with all the success, there's all those nuggets of failure that have been sprinkled in there, and maybe some lessons that you learned. Maybe it was one that like sticks out more than all the others, or like, you don't have to go into like super detail about it, but just like maybe something you learned about yourself in those moments. Or I like to dig into an entrepreneur and someone of that thought process about failure, maybe like how you tackled it and what you learned and what you came out on the back end thinking like.
Yeah, so you're going to love this one. It's because when we started out, we were using a roaster, a coffee roaster that's local to Lafayette. Absolutely love them. They are phenomenal. But during COVID, our products are paper products, and the price of that more than tripled. We started out with like a case of cups, and it was like $30. And during COVID, we were paying like $103. And we got really, really hit. We are still a very small business. I own 100%, you know, and so it's not like we have investors like these big companies to help us out. Like, it's my bank account, y'all. It's my savings account from offshore, you know? And so, we had to, what are we going to do? You know, like we were barely paying the bills. We wanted to expand another location. And I was like, what are we going to do? And so that's when that mindset starts coming in of how can I adapt to this? How can I overcome this? So I did research and decided I would start another company and roast my own beans, because that's where the majority of our money was being spent. And so we were paying so much over, which is normal, for whenever you have a wholesaler, that's normal. But instead of paying $4 for a pound of coffee, we were paying 10, and so I pulled out our finances and I'm like, where is my money going? And it was to coffee. Well, hello, I own a coffee company. It has to go there. But I thought to myself, how can I mitigate this cost? It may cost me more money, but how can I overcome that? And that was it. It was to start my own company as roasting. So I started looking into it and I'm like, hey, God, like if this is what you want us to do, you provide. And the cost of a roaster itself was $22,000. And I'm like, oh boy, that was going to be another hit. But I prayed about it and I'm like, God, if this is what you want me to do, you provide it. And the next week, that those funds were provided. And I'm like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I went the educational aspect, because you can't present something to somebody if you don't know anything about it. Just like what you were talking about, when people always want to give you their opinion and they've never experienced it. And so I dug into the education of what I'm supposed to do. I flew to Colorado and got the training from a roaster, and we roast our own company. Actually, when I leave here, I'm going to Walker to develop another roast. We're going to, surprise, we're going to have another dark roast. We have a medium right now and we have a blonde, but I'm like, what else can I do? And so that's what we did. I started a roasting company and we roast our own. And now the cost is pennies, y'all, pennies compared to what we were paying. But that's what I had to do. I had to get in that mindset of, okay, I know that I can't afford this, but I need this. So what else can I do? Well, I started another company and now I roast my own. So I took out that other person completely. And it cost money in the startup, but the long run, I saved so much. And now, people are like, oh my gosh, y'all roast your own beans. Well, that sets us apart. So that's another thing that my personality is right there. This is what I had to do. And I made it happen. I know I needed that end result, and I did whatever it took to make it happen.
Katie Benton Thompson is your local trusted realtor. Born and bred in real estate as a third-generation realtor, she deals with developments from lots and to houses. Katie was raised building the parish of Livingston. Her family roots have grown this parish for the last 30 years. This environment has educated Katie in all areas of real estate. I can tell you from personal experience, Katie Benton Thompson is a hustler in every way. She is constantly digging her heels in to give her clients the best buying or selling experience she can. Give Mandy Benton Realty Group a call and ask for Katie Benton Thompson at 225-953-0677. I love that you took more control of your business.
Yeah.
Was that a really good pivotal, good feeling moment? Because I know you like being goal oriented and you like hard charging.
Oh yeah.
That had to be a really good feeling for your company to know, internally, you're 100% owner and you just took a huge portion of your business that was outsourced and you just said, now it's mine.
Yep.
And you're in full control of that.
Yeah, and people are great. God's going to place the right people in your circle. He's going to bring the right people to what you need. But I knew that in the beginning, I needed somebody. I had no education about it. I didn't know what to do. And the people that we used are great. They're still great. But as a business owner, it's not about hurting somebody else's feelings. It's about you doing what's best for your company. And that's what I had to do. I would rather be able to pay my employees more than say, oh, well, I'm going to take the easy way out and let somebody do it for me. And that's the game changer. It's so easy to have somebody do these things. And yes, you have to outsource some things. But whenever you can take control of something and say, okay, I am more in tune to do what I need, then that's the difference. You go in and you dig in and you say, okay, this is what I have to do. And then you just do whatever it takes to make it happen. And it was a game changer for us.
You don't have a business background, right? So
no.
you have a medic offshore, oil field background.
Yeah.
So, but you're putting systems in place. I heard you talk about you're reading literature about business and gaps and mindset.
Yep.
So that's obviously you're educating yourself on where you need to be. And then I hear in the beginning that you also have a business coach or someone that's handling your business side of your organization and your company already. So you're putting people and systems in place for your business that are probably more educated in that side of it than you have been, right?
Yeah. So the manager that I have, I actually trained her, because as a business owner, you always want to think about what you can do next, and if you have your hands in everything, you can't see anything, and a lot of times that's where people fail is they're like, okay, I want to do this and I want to control this. You have to step back and obviously find people that you can trust, but you have to put things in place to where you can step back and focus on what's next to come and let somebody handle what's already happening. And so I actually sent Bridget to training and management school so that she can do the things here so that I can worry about expansion and growth and what comes next. And so, I have these coaches for the roast that I'm actually doing. I contacted him and I'm like, hey, this is my thoughts. What do you think about this? Oh yeah, drop time at this, temperature at this. I think that's great, but I think you need to change this to make it better and then taste. So you have to have those people that you reach out to make sure that you're doing what you need to do, but then you just make it happen.
Do you love coffee now?
I do.
You can say no. It's okay. That was kind of a loaded question. I was actually hoping you were going to say no because I wanted to make a point about it.
Yeah, I mean...
you'll drink it.
Yes, I will. I'll drink it. My husband says I'm situational because if it's cold outside, I'm like, yeah, let's go sit out by the pool and drink a cup of coffee. But it's very rare that I get up and I'm like, okay, I want some coffee. Yeah, great. No, it just, it's good.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make about that is that a lot of people that come sit in here are doing what they're doing because they're extraordinarily passionate about that thing, right?
Yeah.
Like Megan was extraordinarily passionate about
Queen
fashion,
of Sparkles,
right? Queen of Sparkles, same thing with fashion. Justin is very passionate about fitness, and that's their life. That's what they love. So they built a business around that.
Right.
But that ain't the only way,
right?
Just find something, be strategic, find a niche, and then you don't have to be passionate about something to learn anything anymore. I mean, information is so readily available and so plentiful that you can learn to be a dang nuclear scientist in a year or two. You know what I mean? From home.
Yeah.
That's because you got a big head and a big brain.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have some degree of personality traits and skill sets that allow you to do that. But and I'm talking to the people that are listening, don't think that because you're not passionate about something or you don't know how to do something or you're not good at something, don't let that be the reason that you're afraid to start. Just start and put in the work and figure it out. I mean, that's it.
This is great for people that actually listen to the content of our show because it's showing you another side of the coin.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at.
That are, look, it kind of plays into the Cajun Ninja on the sense where he said, he said, you find something, it grabs, you double down on it.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that's good.
He said it. We were all like, this dude's a cook. And he's like, once we sat in the room with him, he's not a cook.
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. And he doubled down because he said, "Paya!" And people, he did his ninja thing and shit chopped up in front of his face. Everybody starts laughing. He's like, and then he got 5 million views.
Yep.
So it's like, man, wow. Okay, double down. That's kind of what she did. She found a niche. She went here, figured out, put systems in place, educated herself, and doubled down on coffee.
Dude, exactly in that same vein though, now the Cajun Ninja gets invited to cook at all these different events.
Yeah.
If the dude opened a restaurant tomorrow, it would be a success.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I don't know when he started, 2017 I think he started.
2015.
In 2014 that dude didn't give two shits about cooking. Right. You know what I mean? He just cooked for his family and his friends.
For socially. For social reasons.
But he wasn't like, I'm just passionate about, I have this burning passion for cooking food. That wasn't it. So you don't have to have a passion for something. You don't have to be extraordinarily good at it to either A, learn how to improve on it, or B, just learn how to do it from jump. That's what I did with land development. I didn't know anything about it. Nothing.
He still doesn't know anything.
And that's okay. You learn. My passion is people, and with the Cajun Ninja, I'm sure that's what it is. It's a passion for people instead of a product, because I know that the product that I'm providing, everyone except for me, loves coffee. Everyone does. And so whenever they're on the way to work or running late, they still want to get their coffee, and if my company can be the game changer for them, that's my passion. It's for the people because they're going to be late for work just to get that coffee. So, I love when people are like, man, I'm on my way. I'm so sorry I hit traffic. I'm so late. And you got a coffee cup in your hand. It's like, no, you wanted coffee
line
first.
For 15 minutes.
That's right. But that's my passion, is because I know that they're going to stop. Be the game changer for them. Whenever, don't be upset. If you hate your job, get another job. That drives me insane, and I harp on my people all the time. And I'm like, look, if you don't like it, do something different. Don't show your kids that you have to go to somewhere that you hate all day and then come home and complain about it all day.
Preach,
Make
sister. Preach.
a change.
I think that's especially important if you're in a customer service industry.
Yeah.
If you hate your job, go away.
Yes.
Don't be here.
Exactly. Because you don't have to be. You don't have to be.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. And it's just, why do something that you hate? And that's when I brought up, my daughter. I want her, when she gets old enough to where when I come home, I'm excited about something. She hears me talking about what I can do next, Not when you come home every afternoon and your kids are, doing their schoolwork and they have to listen to mom and dad complaining about how their job went.
Oh.
Yeah,
Don't
get
be
home and
that.
get off in a bottle or a case of beer.
Don't do that. You're just teaching them that they have to work their butt off through school because you make them have good grades. You want them to have good grades. Why, Mom? So I can go to work and come home and say how much I hate going to work all day? Don't do that. Don't be that parent. Make something of yourself. And if you love your job, or even if it's a 9 to 5 and you love that job, I'm not built like that. But be happy about that. Show the people around you that you love what you do. It doesn't matter what it is. Enjoy it. And that's the game changer. If you don't like what you're doing, change it.
It's a hard mold to break, too.
Oh, yeah. Look, and I know
it's a hard mold to break.
in the oil and gas industry, I'm assuming it's as prevalent at other places as it was at the place I worked. But like whenever you go there and everyone there is just absolutely miserable all day long, it's just a bad environment to be in.
Yeah.
And for who was it? Was it Justin that was talking about? He worked on the ship or something, and he saw the dude across the fence, and he was like, 20 more years. Talking about 20 more years till he can retire. But the dude's like dragging his knuckles around all day long, like just
That's
watching
so
the clock for 20 years. Like that,
It's a
I couldn't do
terrible
it.
way to live.
And look, I did it. I did it for almost 10 years.
Yep.
And finally, it was just like, what am I doing with my life? And took a risk, and I'm still like wading through the shit that came along with that. But we're gonna figure that out. And I know it's going to work out because I'm confident in myself.
Yeah, that's part of the journey, though. That's
right.
part of the decision you make, and you accept the inherent risk, and you keep, like you said, keep going. Like there is no other choice.
it.
One
Yeah.
foot in front of the other every day. Like if you have a goal, and that's why the show is called Hustle Makes It Happen. Like, we say in the outro, keep your head down, keep your eye on the ball. Hustle makes it happen. So you have to, and most importantly, have fun. I can't leave that out.
Right.
But it's a baseball analogy from a mentor that I had in high school. And that's what he told us. Like, you have to keep your head down, which to me means just focus. Right? Just focus. And keep your eye on the ball is kind of the same. Well, I think keep your head down is more like stay out of trouble or stay out of the spotlight, right? And then keep your eye on the ball is just about focus. But then hustle makes it happen. So like if you're minding your business, you're keeping your head down, you're focused on what's important to you, you're keeping your eye on the ball, and you just work towards it, then that's where success comes from. And then he added in the most importantly, have fun, because I fully believe that if you're not fulfilled or enjoying what you're doing in life, and it doesn't have to be because you have a passion for coffee.
Right.
You have a passion for people, just like Chris when he came sat in here. Like he was very motivated by helping people feel good. As long as you're getting fulfillment out of that, then you're happy, then you're having fun, then you're living a fulfilled life, and you're more enjoyable to be around, and it has this exponential growth effect on everyone around you.
Yeah.
One trait that has led to your success in your own right that you think for you?
Dedication.
I can see it.
The one thing that you just said when you were talking about, keeping your head down, the one word that jumped out is work. And that's the difference. So many people that take a leap of faith, or a risk, they decide whenever they're met with that first obstacle, they're like, oh, that's it, I'm done. Okay, well, that's the game changer. That's why I'm successful and you're not. It's because you have to put in the work. It's not just going to fall into your lap. Some things do, and that's great, but you have to work for it. Like, don't expect somebody to hand something to you. Get out there, work for it, and make it happen. Be dedicated to getting that result.
It's like that. If I could do on the bottom, when a little picture pops up in the bottom of the screen right now, it's that peak that's above the water and everything below it, the work, the sacrifice, the long hours, because everybody sees the peak, but nobody sees what's under the water. That's exactly it. That's what that just came to my mind.
Yeah, I'm a full believer.
Jim, can you put like a little blurb and put that little thing above my head?
The little iceberg right here. No, I'm a firm believer that exactly what you just said. Like, you have to manifest your own destiny.
Yes.
If you take a risk and are not willing to put the work in to dig yourself out of a hole, it's like people like us will jump into a hole knowing that like we have to claw and dig our way out of it. But if you're not willing to do the work, but you're willing to take the risk, you're set up for failure.
That's right.
If you're willing to do the work, but not willing to take the risk, you're screwed.
That's good.
Right? Like, you have to have both of those. If you're going to be risky, you better be ready to work.
That's right. That's so good.
You know, and if you're willing to work hard and you want to take it to the next level, you're going to have to take some risk.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, those two are married, nested, if you will.
It's so true.
Before we break out of here, one, you made Justin very happy today because he met someone like and kind.
I know.
Two, but plug your businesses. Talk about your different locations and where they can find you on the different social platforms in life.
Yeah, so we have the mobile truck, and we do business and school deliveries. We do weddings, events, fundraisers. We go to churches, and basically anywhere. You know, we bring the coffee to you. We have a drive-through location in Watson, Louisiana, that is across the street from Linda's Fried Chicken. And then we also have a 2,000 square foot brick and mortar where you can go inside, and we have a drive-through in Walker, and it's the old Baba's discount store. They're actually building, from what we heard, another coffee shop right next door to us. But yeah, it's going to be great. You know, there's so much room for everyone out there, and it's not about competition. It's about standing your ground and being who you want to be. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, espressogeaux.com.
I cannot thank you enough for coming in here today. And for all the listeners, I'm challenging you to sit at tables and have conversations that is making your mind work and think about what's next for you in your life, your aspirations, your goals. Like, that's what I want everybody that hits play. That's what I want you striving for. If you want to talk about life and things that you're thinking about, message me.
Yeah, call me.
Have those conversations. Surround yourself with people that either inspire you or they're challenging you to inspire yourself. Because I don't think we do it enough. We're always in the rut and the grind, and we're bringing you down. Like, talk to people that bring you up. Yeah. That's what I challenge all of our listeners to do next for yourself.
No, that's it, man. That's spot on. This has been one of my favorite episodes.
I knew that was coming.
I love it.
It really has. It's been one of my favorites. Guys, Chase said it at the beginning, but we can't thank you enough for continuing to hit play every week, week in, week out. Y'all are making it happen for us. If it weren't for each and every one of y'all that listen to us on a weekly basis, we said it in the season ender, we'd just be sitting here in a dark room, 2 dudes talking to each other, 3 dudes talking to each other, which might get kind of weird and creepy. So thank y'all for that. And look, I got some explaining to do because I told you last week that you were going to get a weekly sprint. Well, guess what? Things happen. Things happen in life, right?
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah, we made a promise. We didn't keep it. We're going to work on doing better with that. But just like in life, you got to adapt and overcome. Some stuff came up late last week that we weren't able to control and weren't able to get it done. So as soon as we're able to get some sprints recorded, we're going to get those out to you. And I think you're going to enjoy that content. It's going to be those little short, like, instead of taking up an hour of your time, little 10 to 15 minute nuggets that you can take on your way to Espresso Geaux.
That's right.
While you drink the coffee you love.
That's right.
That's it. Garrison?
But it won't be me.
Nothing. I mean, I appreciate you coming on. You're an inspiration. And I might go get some coffee right now.
Do it.
That's it. That's all I got. I love this episode.
Dude, me too. I'm telling you, it's my favorite.
That's right. Thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No, it was awesome. Thank you for joining. All right, guys, that's it. It's another episode of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast. Remember, until next time, keep your head down, keep your eye on the ball. Hustle makes it happen, but most importantly, have fun. Later.